Welcome back, y'all. My name is Octavion, and today we're talking about roommates and how to handle that situation when you move in. Now that y'all moving back to college or would be moving back to college despite this virus, and this is a good time to know about the roommate situation. If you do have to move in, you're gonna need to know how to handle your roommates, right? So this video is telling you what you need to talk about with these specific roommates and how to get along for the entire school year. I, as I mentioned in previous videos, am an RA, resident advisor, so I annually have to handle roommate agreements, and it's plenty of opportunities where people go into the roommate agreement saying that, oh, like, we're best friends, we're all good, we don't need no help or anything, and then they get into the school year and have nothing but issues, and they complain, and the next thing you know, somebody's trying to move out, right? So, like, to avoid all that, you need to set up boundaries and guidelines from the get-go, so then you know how you're gonna live your life throughout that entire school year and be cool and be straight and not have that added stress on your plate when you already got your academics, your extracurriculars, whatever you're trying to do. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Take that back. As always, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you like the content that's being put out. Now, let's go. First, major important thing that you got to do when you move in and get your roommate: set your personal boundaries. This is a huge key, because boundaries is everything, right? You don't want to walk in, have them using your clothes, your toothbrush, your blankets, your eating your food. Like, you need to set boundaries so people don't get things misconstrued and you end up having stuff being taken out of your hands and you want to fight somebody. Like, that ain't where it's at. So in order to avoid that, you need to set boundaries. You need to dictate what your roommate and you want to stay personal, to stay with you, and what is going to be communal. I've seen plenty of situations where roommates said that, okay, like, this fan stays in the center room, it's communal. We both use it, it's going to help both of us, right? So that's an example of a communal thing, right? But people will have like food in the refrigerator and the other roommate will take it, and the person will be like, why'd you take my food? And they'll think that's communal when it's not. They never communicated, they never specified what their ground rules were. See, boundaries is going to be a huge thing, because if you don't know what is going on between each other and what that other person will tolerate, then you just not gonna click, and you just gonna have beef the entire school year, and that could just pile on depending on the type of person, because they could be a passive person that just lets stuff build up, or they could be a more aggressive person, assertive, and try to handle the situation immediately. Either way, boundaries is gonna help you avoid any kind of negative situations, and they need to be set from the get-go. What I recommend is, if you do have a roommate agreement in the beginning, make sure to come up with a list of things in your head that you want to be set for just you. You want your bed just yours, nobody else, your roommate can't have nobody sit on it. Make sure to list that. Make sure to have that accommodated, right? If you want your desk space to just be yours, make sure to list that. Everything is important. Details are important, just so if the situation occurs and you have to look back, you already went over that and you already clarified any errors. Also, don't just look at what you don't want a roommate to touch of yours, but also what you will allow them to have as well, if anything, because you don't have to, because this is your property, so you choose whatever you want, right? So you can also allow them to have stuff if you want them to have access to your food, or you're comfortable with you all sharing clothes, if you're comfortable with you all sharing like a communal fan or different appliances, like a I don't know, a rice cooker or something, I don't know, whatever. Like, if you're comfortable sharing certain things, make sure that's stated too. So then again, you have proof, and you know what is documented, what both of you are comfortable with sharing. The second most important thing is to know the guest policy, right? Because guest is a huge thing with college students. They like to have their friends over, their significant others over. Like, you need to know how that policy is going to work. You need to know if you're going to allow that person to have that their significant other or friends stay over. You have to know how long they're going to be over, how who's going to be coming to your room, because that's your space too. You don't want anybody coming in your room, especially unannounced, because you may not have it in order like you want to because you have guests. So you want it to be as clear as possible, and make sure that you have a clear designated guest policy where you know when and where and how those situations will play out. So the best situation and best way to handle that is to, like previous, make sure it's documented. Make sure you know, like if you have a significant other, or if you're a person that likes to have friends come over your room and you like to be a host, make sure to clarify that with your roommate and make sure they're okay with that. Make sure that, and vice versa, make sure that you're in the know if they want to have those get-togethers and they have those people come over as well. Make sure that's clear for you. Having that communication, that open communication is very important, because you're going to be living with that person and you don't want no issues down the road. So making sure that you know the guest policy, not only for each other but also for the residence hall. Very different residence halls have different guest policies for different schools. At Ohio State, if a person stays or a person is not allowed to stay, rather, more than 3 nights in a row, for it to be deemed like against the university policy. I don't know how often people are really staying 3 nights in a row like that, but it's a possibility. And if that is the case and you have an issue with that, you could take that up with your RA if that's the policy at your school too. And if it's not, of course, you can also familiarize yourself with the policy at your school and make sure you know if something is to go awry, then you know how that situation should be handled, and you know the rules about that situation. But yeah, that's the major thing, is just talking to your roommate about guests, because a lot of people want to have their friends and stuff and interact with them or significant others, and like it may not be the most comfortable situation if people are coming in and out of your room, especially if it's unannounced. So you want to make sure to get that straight away at the beginning of the year as soon as possible, and yeah, it'll clear up so many issues for you in the future. Number 3, I got habits. You want to make sure that your habits and your roommate's habits not necessarily align, but they can coincide, okay? Because if you're a night person and your roommate's a morning person, it's going to be a little difficult for you to orchestrate certain things, because their alarm's going to be going off mad early while you're still sleeping, and that could bother you if you're not a deep sleeper. That could wake you up and disrupt your sleeping patterns, all that bad stuff. You up typing on your keyboard, or you up blasting music, whatever you're doing, that could bother them when they sleeping, and that could cause issues. So you have to make sure that your habits with your roommate can coexist, because that, like I said previously, can cause serious issues, and you want to be respectful. You want to be respectful because it's their living space too, and you don't necessarily just dictate the whole space. So being accommodating to what they want, as well as them being accommodating to you, and you all coming to a compromise about situations is very important. And including in that is knowing each other's habits. So habits, when it comes to sleeping, of course, habits when it comes to studying, like whether you're a person that studies in your room or studies elsewhere, because if you're studying in your room, you're more likely going to need a quiet time, and you're more likely going to be in your room more often if you're going to be studying and doing work there. So it becomes a different environment in that sense. Like in regards to, like, if you didn't study there, then it could be more of just like a relaxed space, right? You also can be talking about habits regarding like drinking, if that is a possibility between you and your roommate, and how that will coincide with your student life. You could also be the guest policy is another one, just like knowing the habits about how often you're gonna have guests, if you gonna have guests, what times you gonna have guests. Like that is also a very common issue that's brought up to RAs, and it's like it just coincides like with having respect for your roommate and being able to know their habits and being able to get along. At Ohio State, they allow you to, when you fill out the housing form, they allow you to put certain requirements and preferences for you as a roommate. So if you prefer to be in a room with someone that's a morning person or a night person, or if you prefer to be in a room with someone that's more social and has more friends that may come in and out, or you want to be in a person that's more clean versus dirty, like that's a huge one too. Sanitation, definitely talk about that with your roommate, because some people are very messy, very dirty, and if you got OCD and you super clean and you got to deal with that, you would freak out. I've seen too many cases of that, and I feel sorry for them. Like, you definitely make that a priority, and definitely try to make sure that you know what preferences and what habits that person has. Try to make out a clear list of things that you personally see for your room, and things that you condone and what you won't condone, and make sure to be able to express that to your roommate and try to work out any kinks in that situation. So that is pretty much it for the video. Those are the most important things that I think you should talk about with your roommates. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you like the content that's being put out, and make sure to have these conversations with your roommates. If you do have school in the fall or the spring, or whenever you watch this video, make sure to have these conversations with your roommates, because it is vital, so you don't be having no issues later on throughout your college semester or school year. So I'll catch y'all. Peace.